So there's a verse that I just read like I think 2 days ago, and it says it's from Numbers 23:19. By the way, I'm not knowledgeable in the Old Testament or the New Testament. I'm reading them, but
Hmm.
like I haven't gone through all of them. So it says, God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should change his mind.
Hmm.
So that just complicates things for me because the language of the Old Testament, it makes it clear that it's not the only one. I have a lot of other ones, but I'm not here. Just it's. I think you get the point. Where it,
Yes.
like it talks about the Lord as like one, and it keeps repeating it, and it's like, hey, you sound like the Quran, and now it's like, what does that mean?
That's also one that was troubling for me. All the verses talking about God is not a man. That's something that had blinders on me for a long time. There's two different elements here. First of all, you have to look at the context of the verse and what it's saying. Is it talking about the ontological nature of God, or is it talking about the likelihood of him lying to you? Meaning, it's making a claim that God doesn't lie like men do. God doesn't do these terrible things that human beings get engaged in. So that's one aspect. And then the second aspect is the claim of Christianity is not that a human being decided he's God one day and became God. It's the other way around. It's God humbled himself and took on flesh. So God is still not, in that sense, a man in the way that the verse would be implying, of a human being with the nature of a human to lie and steal and cheat and murder and so on. So that's what the
Because he's
context is.
divine.
Correct. The verse is talking about the nature of God and whether or not he does these sinful things that human beings do. Do you not trust God? Is he a man to lie? That's the language that's being used.
Okay, that
So
makes absolute sense. Like, I think actually that didn't trouble me. The part where it says that he should lie, I think I understood that God was just saying like, "Hey, I don't lie. I'm not a human." But at the same time, when I read the word "son of man," it kind of troubled me because like everywhere in the New Testament, Jesus is like saying that he's the son of man, and if the Messiah in the Old Testament, or like for the Jews, is not Jesus, it kind of makes it trouble. Like it kind of makes it like the chain is like broken or whatever.
the question is, do we have in the Hebrew Bible where God can take on flesh? That's the question we're asking, right? Can God take on flesh from the Tanakh perspective? If every Jew believed it or didn't believe it, that's not really the point. We do have a record that there are Jews who believed it. The Jewish disciples of Jesus clearly believed that. In Genesis 18, the God of Abraham appears to him, right, by the oaks of Mamre. And the scripture is very clear. He ate a meal with him in front of him. In order to eat a meal, you kind of need a body, right?
I'm so sorry. Can you repeat the verse?
Yeah, and Genesis 18, the whole chapter gives you the story. It's before Sodom and Gomorrah get destroyed and the two angels go down to destroy it.
Yeah.
So God appears to Abraham, literally appears to him. It's the passive of seen. It's like he was seen by Abraham, right? God's ultimately visible, right? To be seen, there's some kind of, it's incorporeal, he's corporeal in some sense, right? So he takes on flesh, he takes on a body, and he eats, he consumes food with Abraham. There's another passage that's even
Wow.
more striking in Zechariah 12, which is a very high prophetic passage. The God of Israel speaking, using the divine name, he says, I'm going to pour, earlier it talks about the divine name. God says that I'm going to pour out on the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplication. So he's going to pour out this spirit, right? So it's God himself pouring out this spirit of like mercy on the people, right? This is God's action over his people. And then it goes on to say, so that they will look at me whom they pierced. How is it possible for God, if he's spirit and can never take on flesh, to be pierced?
And that's in Zechariah. Is that correct?
Zechariah 12.
Radar, do you mind going 2 chapters forward to
Oh,
Zechariah 14?
Sure, you can break it down, brother. Go ahead.
And then I believe it's Zechariah 14. I'm not as good with the recall as you are, but it says that God's feet will stand on the Mount of Olives,
God has a foot.
yeah, he
and that
does
the
so in
nations
Islam too.
will come and bow to him there and worship him. No mention of a third temple. But God's feet will stand on the Mount of Olives in that day when the mountain is cleaved in two. And there's a whole messianic prophecy of the end days there. And God's feet are standing on the Mount of Olives.
Yeah, it's great. So what we clearly have this where the God of Israel has taken on flesh before. He has appeared to the people. They saw him in visible form, and he did things that you would need a body to actually do. Like you need a physicality to yourself, that he materialized the body to occupy at some point. This is the plain, clear reading of the Hebrew Bible.
Yeah, I understand that. I think like people tend to look at these things are in the more of a metaphorical way. And I think they
Mhm.
do the same with like the Quran or the Hadith when it says anything that could like implicate, I think, implicate that God has something like physical to him.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
sort of take it metaphorical, and then
Yeah.
some other things they take it like as actual or like not metaphorical.
Sure.
I
Think
don't know
about
what's the
this,
word,
right? Well, think
but
about this.
yeah,
Daniel, right? Daniel has a vision of the Son of Man approaching the Ancient of Days. Ancient of Day, everybody's seated. He's there. His hair's like white. This is a vision, right? This isn't a part of reality. Daniel's being conveyed something about something that is eternal and supernatural that's happening, that's going to happen in the future. Ezekiel has a vision, right, of these things. They're having visions about these things. But in Zechariah, we're talking about that God himself was actually pierced. Genesis 18, there's no vision. He goes, talks to Sarah. Sarah makes the lunch. They come back, they eat. You can tell from the context of whether it's something that's allegorical, metaphorical, something that's symbolic or imagery or happening in a vision in the supernatural realm. Not that there aren't realities attached to it, but you can say that about Ezekiel. You can say that about portions of Daniel. You can say that about portions of Isaiah, right? You can't say that about the segments that I just brought to you because there's no indication that it's a vision at all. These are things that are reality, right? That are going to happen in the future.
yeah, I agree. Thank
Yeah,
you for answering. So there's the I think the other thing is going to be the prophecies that Jesus didn't fulfill,
sure.
and it's so someone was just mentioning I think a while ago the third temple, and he couldn't come up with the verse. So I looked it up, and it's
Sure.
Isaiah 2:2-3. I think. Wait, I'm gonna look there. I'm sorry. It
I
says
think
in the
that's more
last
so
days.
like the
Yeah.
millennial reign, right? And the mountain of the Lord and the
Um,
house of the Lord. I don't think it uses temple in there. I could be wrong, but I don't think it does.
It says in the last days, the mountain of the Lord's temple will be
Where we at?
established as the highest of the mountains. That's the translation that I have. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the Beit Adonai. It's basically the house of the Lord. It's not actually temple
Okay.
in there, right? It's not temple. It's the
Okay.
house of the Lord. So we can think of it as the meeting place of meeting with God. In Zechariah 6, there is this illusion of the branch coming that is unanimously the Messiah. Rabbinic Judaism will agree on this. This is the Messiah who's going to build a temple of the Lord. We can view that as a person could view that as like a physical temple, a person, but really, what is it ultimately pointing to? Remember, if you read the book of Revelation in the restoration of all things, there's no temple in that place. There's a temple in heaven that they see that's ultimately not going to be there when everything's restored. So, what a person believes about a physical temple or not a temple isn't really the point because even the Messiah himself refers to a temple being built, which is his own body. Does that make sense? So this is
Yes, it
within the
actually does.
so there's a range within which we could think about temple that Christians can disagree with that doesn't put a person inside or outside of what is normative Christianity or New Testament faith because the New Testament itself speaks about temple in these varying ways. Some rabbinic Jews would say this was Zerubbabel who would be building the temple, but Zerubbabel falls short because he never really rules. He's more like a governor, if that makes sense. He doesn't really rule on the throne. He actually lacks what is Zechariah 6 is looking forward to. But if we go back to Daniel 7, when the Son of Man approaches the Ancient of Days, he receives all authority, power, and dominion. This is a rulership that is not hinged. I think Ash is really stressing this, and I think it's important too. It's not hinged on there being an actual temple, right?
Well, even those verses in modern Hebrew, even the Temple Mount is referred to as Har Habayit, which is
Yeah.
the the mountain of God's house,
Yeah.
essentially, or the mountain of the house. The fact that it implies that the Temple Mount will be a central point or a critical point in some way does not necessarily imply that there's a temple there. Because today,
Sure.
without a temple, it's still considered holy ground that many Jews don't want to walk on or something like that because it's still holy even without the temple being there. So if it's referencing the mountain of God, of God's house, it doesn't necessarily in any way apply that the temple is actually there.
Yeah, that's good. What's interesting about this, though, that I think is just Ash, I'm interested in hearing you jump in on this. There's a lot of things that we have that occurred inside the Hebrew Bible that are concessions to sin, right? We don't have from the mouth of God, Moses, I desire for Aaron to be my priest. Aaron's only a priest because Moses doesn't want to do it, right? So Aaron comes on the scene. There's a lot of things like that. All of Israel should have had one person from each family that would have been a priest. But because of the golden calf, only Levites help the tabernacle and the sons of Aaron do the sacrifices. Okay. when you look at the temple, you cannot find one passage of scripture. This is my belief. This is what I've seen in the Hebrew Bible, where God says, build me a house. You actually find the opposite. God says, look, don't, I never even thought of such a thing to build a temple. David desires to do it in honor to the Lord, and God honors it and puts a stamp of approval that David can do it and that Solomon would ultimately build it. And David does the plans. So the idea of a temple is kind of a moot point. In the millennial reign, as you look about this and think about it, I believe there's going to be a temple. I believe in a literal millennial reign where the Messiah is going to reign for 1,000 years. I'm not saying I figured out how everything's going to fit, but it seems like Zechariah 14, what he's talking about is the people going up there. Now, Asher's saying it doesn't need to be a temple. You don't have to believe it's an actual temple. The idea is that God is there and he's ruling over his people, right? So that's the big key about it. So and as you're thinking about it, part of it is Ezekiel's temple. How does it fit? It's perfectly fine if someone views it as an allegorical temple, speaking about the grandness of God. Just Google Ezekiel's temple size versus the regular temple. It dwarfs it, like I think 100 times or something like that bigger. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But it's massive compared to the actual temple size.
Yeah. So actually, I want to hear your input or like your perspective on how like some people interpret or like think of some verses in the Old Testament which talk about the Messiah or like the existence of two Messiahs, and they put, forcefully put the Prophet Muhammad in there as the second Messiah, of course.
Yeah, that's two parts. I think the part about Muhammad being there is probably better for Avery.
Yeah, it's always Avery.
Well, deal with the first part because I was
the two types of Messiahs.
I would need reference. Oh,
bruh. No, go ahead, brother.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, brother, let me cook, bro. Nah,
okay, my goodness.
I ain't done nothing.
No, go ahead, brother. Say what you say.
I was just gonna say, I don't even think that the parts, if people are saying that Muhammad is in these verses, he's not. There's nothing in these verses that point to him in any way, shape, or form. So I think dealing with the concept of the two messiahs and what she's asking about, I think is definitely worth talking.
Sure, and then I'll let Ash go after me because I like to see what he has to say about this. But Judaism has wrestled with this idea throughout the history of interpretation. Why? Because we have Zechariah 9:9, that the Messiah will come to you, not the Messiah, but the King of Israel will come to you lowly, mounted on a donkey. Chamor, symbol of the earth, right? This kind of like lowly, humble status. So this one is going to come on a donkey, and this is the King of Israel, right? Coming lowly on a donkey. And then we have the Daniel 7 passage where this Son of Man, this exalted figure comes with the clouds of heaven. So perfectly fits with our idea that the Messiah comes, suffers, dies for his people, just like the priest suffered, and ultimately he'll reign as king through this progression of redemption, this stages of redemption, which is probably the best way to refer to it. So Judaism has wrestled with this because it lined up so much with the New Testament throughout time that I think they've become reactive, and they've constructed this idea of the Messiah, son of Joseph, and the Messiah, son of David, because of Joseph's suffering and David actually reigning. So they came up with this two Messiah idea when nowhere is that found in the text. These two that are the King of Israel and the one who receives all the authority, power, and dominion, who is the king, comes on a donkey, and he comes on the clouds of heaven, really implying these two different comings, right? Zechariah 9:9 and Daniel 7. And there's plenty of passages to stack that up to show you the work of the Messiah, Isaiah 53, the typology of the priest, all of these things, and the stages of David's rule and ascension to the throne. All of these things back up these two main passages in Zechariah 9 and Daniel 7.
So here's my humble understanding of what you just said. So it's basically the two comings of the Messiah. Is that correct?
Sure.
The one that is like he's going to come like in a humble form where he dies on the cross, and the other one where he comes to rule the world. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Dividing that into two different figures is a later polemic against Christianity to try to reconcile these two figures, because they're also later on, as time goes on, they're trying to diminish the divine role of the Messiah as well. So one could also make the argument, and there is some speculation here, obviously, because we don't know exactly which stance Rabbi Akiva, for example, took. But Rabbi Akiva thought that the political leader Bar Kokhba was the Messiah, and that he was going to lead a rebellion against the Romans and restore Israel. But if Rabbi Akiva was from the early rabbinic camps that thought of the Messiah in any way divine at all based on the scriptures, that would mean that he was placing this political figure who was a human being at the time that he knew personally on a pedestal of a divine figure, right? So even in that case, they may have thought of him as the one person that would bring those two, that would fulfill both roles in that sense. A human being, maybe not the Ben Yosef and Ben David, but the two messiahs in rabbinic Judaism from later, but a figure that would fulfill both roles. But then later on, they had to separate it into two.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you so much for explaining. So I have one last question, which I think is gonna, I don't know if it's on topic or not, but it's about like the Antichrist. So I was thinking about how it's also one of the things that are historically explained, but it's Quranically or like Islamically not explained. And basically, what is the Antichrist? I think the answer is obvious when you look at it from a Christian point of view, but then you look at it from a Muslim point of view, and it doesn't make any sense because, like, why would there be an Antichrist in like an Islamic point of view? Because it's really troubled me because, like, why is there an Antichrist? There is no, like, Christ is not Lord in our region, so like, what is that? So is there any other explanation for like an Antichrist than the one that I understand, which is basically like, I think a false prophet that comes in, like, oh my god, yeah, sorry. It's just every time I think about it, it makes it, yeah.
Yeah, this deals with like high eschatological understanding of the end times, whatever a person might think about the end times. When you read the book of Revelation, we have three entities. We have the beast, who is the dragon of old, right? We have the dragon of old. And then we have the Antichrist, and then we have the prophet, right? So the prophet sort of backs up the Antichrist, right? And, you know, one of them gets slain, the other person gets raised from the dead. And the false prophet, exactly. Yep, the false prophet, right? So, and then you have the dragon that really empowers all of them. Then there's this image that comes to life. So the idea is that whatever is true and holy and good, Satan, the enemy, is trying to copy and duplicate and give you a false, sort of like a false trinity, even if you could talk about. So we have the true Trinity, the Father, Son, and Spirit. In the end times, we're going to have this dragon, we have the false prophet, and then we have the Antichrist. These entities that are seeking to pull God's people away in the end times.
Yeah,
and so
that makes sense.
the Antichrist is going to claim to be God, right? He's going to try to pull the people away by performing signs and wonders and blaspheming against God. This is and it's amazing that you said it doesn't make sense Islamically for there to be an Antichrist because Jesus isn't Lord. Yeah. What would be the point of that then? And so this is where you see this Antichrist claims to be Lord, tries to mimic the Lord and deceive people, tries to mimic Jesus. So
funny enough, actually, Muhammad didn't have any miracles.
You're right. You're right, sis. What's keeping you? What's keeping you in Islam, sis? If you don't mind me asking.
No, that's a big question. I think it's systematic. Like it's just in your brain. It's like everything you are to blame yourself. Like the other dude said. Like he said, you have to say that's not the text. It's you. It's a you problem. It's a you Christian problem. It's a you like. Your interpretation problem. And you'll never find a true answer, like, because I've been watching your live and it aches me when I see people have absolutely no response for the smallest logical questions. But at the same time, when I started actually trying to answer these questions, I found out that if I answered them, it's going to take me out of the religion. Yeah. And if I do that, your promise. So here's the thing. I know that it sounds cultish, and I feel like it kind of is. And I know that I sound kind of angry, but like I think it's just deal with logic.
Yeah, you're all right. Go ahead.
And it's just since you're born, they engrave these thoughts in your head, which is like eternal hell exists and eternity is a very long time. And you're promised eternity in hell if you even think for 1 second to deviate from the whole like Allah is one, Muhammad is his prophet. So it eats your brain to try it, like, and every time you find, because you find around your life across like as you go, you will find a lot of mistakes, and when you take them and present them to the world, they're gonna make it a you problem. It's not in the text, it's just the interpretation. And I don't believe that I really need like thousands of years of interpretation to understand something as a text.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to me. I read the text, it says what it says, and just I deal with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not that easy, honestly. It's just you have to know that you are on the right track, because you have everything at stake. You have your entire life at stake, everything that you've known, everyone that you've known. And also, it's not being said enough how Muslims, or like, I don't know if it's like, especially in the Arab world, is that it's Christianity is very like humored or like made fun of in an absurd way. So you also feel like whenever you're gonna bring that up, even as a question, not even as a like I'm attacking your religion by using the Christian like thoughts. No, even just as a question, they're gonna make fun of it too. They're just gonna drag it to the ground.
Yeah.
They don't even take your question seriously. Like, hey, you want to go like worship a man, and it's like, I don't know, but like God appeared as a man to Muhammad, so it doesn't matter. And also, it doesn't matter if God wants to do anything; He can do whatever He wants.
Yep. That's incredible. So man, you're in a special place, Jane. You're in a special place. I don't know if that's your real name. I hope it's not, so no one knows.
No, it is.
Oh, it is. Okay.
It's everyone calls me.
Okay, for sure. You're bold.
She's already bold.
Yeah, you don't care.
That's all right.
Yeah, it actually didn't start right now. So I've been doing this for like 7 or 8 months now. So yeah.
Yeah, God is calling you. God is calling you. He's introduced you to these things for a reason. He's put these things in your path for a reason. Drew you to my live streams for a reason, listening to the other brothers and John DLC and these lives for a reason. And then also bringing you to this stream where we have these amazing brothers that can, break this stuff down in detail better than I can for a reason. And so we're praying for you, Jane. We're praying for you. You trust me. I don't care what my topic is. If you have a question, you can come up and ask. You can come up and engage with me if you want a source or something, because we're invested in brothers and sisters like you who are seeking, who are honestly seeking and searching. And I'm not gonna lie, it sounds like you already know Islam is false, but you just haven't. It's like your heart and your mind has already left Islam, but I just can't like try to even explain how difficult it is to like. And I don't know what's the word, like to take yourself out of it completely. It's nearly impossible for you, which I'm always wondering like how these people can do it so easily, because like it's in everything that is shaped in you since you were a child. Yeah. And it's not easy, but it's a process. And if it's false, it's false. If it's right, it's right. And I have to take like my desires out of that, or like what I want out of that equation, because we're talking about not just God, we're talking about hell and heaven. And since I was a child, I really don't want to go to hell. I think it's understandable. Yeah, 100%. And Jesus actually, he speaks to this, man. He speaks to this in John chapter 8, in John chapter 14. And both of these, he speaks to this, how freeing the truth is. He talks about how when you make yourself a servant of God and a servant of the truth, that the truth sets you free. The weight, the wondering, the unknown. When you're in the truth, you are free. Even in this, he frees you. And he says that I'm the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And so he guarantees us. He says, fear not, let not your hearts be troubled, but believe in God and believe also in me, for I go in to prepare a place for you. So Jesus guarantees us that if we put our trust in him, he will not forsake us or let us off. He's going to come and get us. So keep doing what you're doing, sis. Keep asking these questions. Keep, critically thinking. You're critically thinking. Your mind, logically, you're out of Islam already. Logically, you're already out of Islam. And so
well, funny enough, actually, one of the comments is saying she don't even know about Islam. And it's so funny that they can say that and not answer the basic logical questions.
Yeah, I would challenge any, if she doesn't know about Islam, why don't you guys come up here and have a good talk with me? We'll see which one of you guys know about Islam or not. Come talk to me.
That's right.
The link is right there. Come talk to me if Jane doesn't know about Islam. Let's see what you know. Come talk to the Sheikh.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Been there my
won't
entire
talk to you.
life.
Yeah, they won't talk to. They'll talk to me. They'll talk to me. You could just watch. You could just watch them.
I trust you.
Slow cook.
Yeah. So
He was the master. Slow
Thank you so
cooker,
much for
man.
having me.
no, thank you for coming. You blessed the stream. As you saw, I don't know how long you were here. Did you see all the trolls we were getting? Did you see all that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
That's actually what encouraged me to come up and talk to you again.
Oh, 'cause
Because
you're
yeah,
close.
I thought that you guys seem serious and you're having a serious conversation, but then it was like, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna be the worst.
Yeah,
okay.
You did great.
they can handle me. If they can handle that, they can handle me.
Yeah.
But yeah, but come anytime, sis. We're praying for you. I'll be
Thank
live
you.
again. Like I said, I'll be live again Friday. I know that Jai and DOC, they'll be excited to come. If you can make that, just so look out for that. Okay.
Absolutely. I'll be watching out for that. Of course.
Sure. Any other questions before
No.
you go?
Thank you
No,
so
that's it?
much. No, thank you. And thank you, Ash. Thank you, Radar. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
You guys,
absolutely.
you've been really helpful. Have an amazing
Yeah.
day. Bye.
Amen.
You
God
too.
bless you.
God bless.
That's what it's about, man. That's what it's about.
Yeah, what a blessing. It's crazy because we've never debated her or spoke with her directly, but the videos and the streams that we've done caught her attention and it struck, and she was like, man, I can't stand watching these guys not be able to answer these simple questions. And then she realized, she's like, well, if I try to answer these questions, I'm seeing that Islam is false. So man, that is her honesty and her boldness to come up here is crazy.
Mhm.
She was
Great, man.
bold.
She was about it. She wanted to know the Lord, man. She wanted to know what it is.
Goodness.
She wanted to know
man,
the truth.
That's awesome.